Sometimes when you're such a connoisseur of animation as myself, and have witnessed the industry go through many ups and even more downs, it becomes challenging to view some of the media in question the same way you would normally. Sometimes you become jaded and let a seemingly innocuous production be ruined by a lot of the trends you've seen surrounding the current industry, or some sort of behind-the-scenes drama. Or on the other end, you get something so clearly set up to fail, but so cool looking at the same time, that you just want to root for it further out of principle. And with this passage of time, you come to wonder if something you once treasured was all you hyped it up as in the moment. And let's be real, with how much it has taken up my online image for as long as I've had this channel, I had to get around to talking about this show sometime in here. So let's go over Glitz 5 years later. Glitz began being developed at Nickelodeon around 2014 by the duo of Eric Robles and Dan Milano. Eric had previously created Fanboy and Chum Chum under Nickelodeon and Frederator Studios, while Dan's claim to fame was none other than the ever-classic Greg the Bunny.
Yeah, let's see how demographically desirable he is with one eye.
No, please, Mr. Rochester, I'm a bunny. I'm fabricated. I'm one of you, my brother.
Shut up.
But with them both being the nerds they were, they came together to create the most kick-ass concept for a video game-themed cartoon they could think of. A world where video game glitches are actually dangerous monsters, and the high schoolers working in tech support were actually a secret society with the job to wrangle them in by any means necessary and erase the public's memories of what they saw. The obvious connection is Men in Black, but this early Pitt's Bible claims the inspiration was in the vein of the real Ghostbusters, the coming-of-age flavor of Freaks and Geeks, set against the video game world of Scott Pilgrim. While much of the concept was there from the very beginning, there were some significant details that wouldn't end up sticking in the final version. One of particular note being that it would start with 5 having already worked at Hinobi for a good while, and had an established partnership with BITT, with Miko being the only new recruit. And you can tell they hadn't fully figured out what kinds of forms the glitzes would take either, most of them being more overt and specific references. Not that the final show never had this, of course, but it's rather clear where the inspiration lied at the time and where it would later lie. However, the biggest and most obvious of them all is the art style. Like, you can see just from watching this early trailer how vast a contrast this is to what we're more familiar with, especially in the body proportions and the more anime-like feel. Heck, this stuff here looks pulled out of Symbionic Titan or something. Even the CG on the glitz monsters has more of an otherworldly feel of how much more they contrast with the 2D. In fact, during development, this show went through many different rounds of concept art, ranging anywhere from a more simplified style in the vein of Gravity Falls, to 5 looking like the Pokemon trainer. By the following year though, when the series was greenlit for a first season of 20 episodes, the final character designs and art style were locked, and several overseas studios were tested to nail down the animation. And picking one proved quite the challenge with what they wanted at the budget they had.
The scope of the show was so big that most studios didn't have the effective, they didn't have enough employee to work on it and stuff. They're like, our studio had to turn it down, and then this studio had also to turn it down, but everybody heard about it. So it was really great, like from Denmark all the way to like France, all the way to California, to Montreal, everybody heard about it, but nobody knew where it was.
Because of the long search and nailing down a studio, the first 2 episodes to make it through the pipeline wound up being animated by Australian studio Flying Bark Productions, who Nickelodeon already had a working relationship with from Rise of the TMNT. And yeah, you can definitely sense a greater level of polish in these compared to the rest. Some of their expression and effect work particularly shines through in these, especially with that subtle difference in line weight.
An invasion of evil alien spaceships? Not on my watch.
Much of the work after that would be handled by another of their parent company's subsidiaries, Studio 100 France, and the remainder at Top Draw in the Philippines. Studio 100 stays pretty close to the bar Flying Bark set, only feeling slightly restrained in the movements, but still nailing so much of the kinetic energy, especially when Miko is flying on Alley or they decide to get ambitious with the camera. Top Draw isn't as strong in the action department, and there's a little more wonkiness if you look out for it, but they make up for it with how much focus they put in the facial reactions and a lot of the exaggerated imagery that their reps tend to have, particularly of the chibi variety. So it's still visually appealing in its own right, and they really come into their own as the show goes on, but we'll get into that later. CGI was still used throughout the show, but more sparingly than before. Occasionally it still appears on the glitch, especially if it's already geometric, or just some residue. You can occasionally see it in an environment or prop here and there, and some other odds and ends. As the team wrote the show, they made sure to put careful thought into every single detail they could regarding the world building and the Hinobi technology. From each video game they display having a clear objective and rule set, to most of the sci-fi having some sort of internal logic that isn't just magic.
So if 3 events happen and I want you to forget the middle one, I'll just change the pointer from the first memory in the sequence to the last. So I skip that middle piece. It's still there. It's in your mind. I haven't erased it. Because in development, it's usually easier to redirect stuff than to delete. And that Mike was telling us that. Very often you'll just redirect information.
That was all set up for like a really cool reveal later. Like it was a cool setup for like a concept we never got to.
All the obvious XPs of existing consoles and video games, so a clear timeline of Hinobi's legacy that is consistent across multiple episodes, despite most of it being kept as background details. Even this little guidebook made by the series crew has a pretty detailed reference library for the different glitches seen in the show. Even the throwaway ones with like a minute of screen time. Look, there's game titles, stats, descriptions, everything. They really thought about it all. And combined with the ambitious scale of the production, they so clearly had faith that this was going to be the next huge action comedy of its demographic. And then, on January 7th, 2019, much of the series team got laid off. Nick had already ordered a second half season of 10 episodes in advance, and decided mid-production not to move forward on them, at least for the time being. These episodes were in the final animatic stage, including voice recordings, and were about ready to be shipped for animation when the plug was pulled. Season 1, however, was in the final stages of animation and post-production, so the initial 20 were able to be finished as intended, with the crew hoping the reaction garnered there would help prove the show successful. Although some others at Nick were definitely starting to feel burned from the sudden lack of faith in an original idea. And it certainly doesn't help that, as much as some of the more hardcore folks who were already keeping tabs on the show wanted to support it, it took a long time before it ever publicly saw the light of day. But then, it was announced that the finished season would drop exclusively on Netflix in February 2020 in 2 batches of 10. This was because Nickelodeon had established a partnership where they produced original programming for the platform, as well as handing them the rights to a handful of finished projects originally intended for Nick proper. Glitch Text was among that roster, and to its credit, considering how much action was starting to pop off on there, and how much it was set to cater to an older crowd than what Nick was targeting at the time, it actually didn't seem as out of place on there as it might have been on the network. However, watching the show makes it pretty easy to tell this was a last-minute decision. The big tell being how the episodes have these sudden dips in audio in a way that makes it quite clear a commercial break was meant to go there.
5.
As well as other things that only really work in the context of cable TV, but we'll get to those later. The marketing was... yeah, it was about what you'd expect from an original cartoon on the service. Even back then, they were content to just give you a YouTube trailer and some social media buzz and pretty much call it a day. Despite this disadvantage, it seemed to get a lot of attention from animation aficionados. I'm convinced more than there would have been had it aired on Nick. Unfortunately though, the momentum didn't stick. But don't worry, we'll be covering all that later in the video. So before I discuss the first batch of episodes overall, the double-length introduction Age of Hinobi deserves to be talked about on its own, because it establishes everything you need to know about the show in peak fashion. First of all, this wicked cold open, showing a typical family in a typical night of gaming. Even before any mayhem breaks loose, the atmosphere captures the environment perfectly, to the point of feeling nostalgic for when we were the age of these kids. But then, inside the console, their Tetris-like game comes to life in the most horrifying way it can. We will smash you to dust. Enter Mitch Williams with the most hardcore opening line ever.
I'm with tech support.
He steps into action, blasts a glitch, goes through the typical support routine, and most ominously, wipes everyone's memories of it happening.
You finished debugging that puzzler glitch?
Another flawless victory.
That's 3 minutes establishing the base premise, all done in the most badass way you could imagine for the demographic. The exact kind of attention grabber that will leave you seated to see more of it. This was actually one of the few parts of the show that Nick was hesitant on because of its darker tone, and therefore had to be tested to make sure it clicked.
I remember them asking the kids, like, hey, was that too scary, this opening? And man, I was crossing my fingers, like, man, kids, don't say you're scared of this, don't say you're scared of this, because I wanted this opening so bad, and the kids, they totally loved it.
Honestly, Godspeed to them for sticking by their guns, cause I could not think of a better way to hook the viewer. But before it can get too suspenseful, we got to establish our actual main characters, High Five Nieves and Miko Kubota, their gaming mastery, their living situations, and how they meet each other screen to screen at the big Hinobi Smash tournament, and immediately strike a bond to take down Mitch for the crown. The character writing accomplishes all this amazingly, and the atmosphere remains just as strong, especially that VR arena. You just wish you were there.
Oh yeah!
But then, just as Five snatches victory with the help of Miko, a glitch unleashes. The available text must step into action.
Let's hear it for augmented reality, folks!
And as we've established as standard procedure, everyone's memory is wiped, which Mitch takes advantage of to erase Five's win over him. But mysteriously, Miko's memory is unaffected, so what happens next goes about how you'd expect.
A no-joke giant monster hand came through the plasma, grabbed me, threw me on the couch, and zoop! Next thing I know, the TV's all, don't move, and I was all, boom, wow! You believe me, don't you?
Thus, she tracks down Five to validate her story, and this is when the conspiracy clicks in for her. After confronting Mitch, and Five is able to put the pieces together himself, they activate a BITT unit inside the tech van who tells them about the Glitch Tech's operations, and they pretend to be new recruits so they can defeat a Chomp Kitty glitch left unleashed in the arcade. Which leads to them becoming new recruits for real.
Your daughter's gaming skills have earned her a job with Hinobi tech support.
And you're so proud.
Standard fare to kick off a show like this, but it's exactly what you would want to see to get excited and following this premise and these characters. And also, like many of its contemporaries, the writing can get pretty intentionally corny at times, especially some of the gamer slang they toss in, and yeah, I can see why you'd listen to some of this and think it's kinda cringe.
Like I need a walkthrough.
All right, my little rookie game grinders.
You two realize this isn't co-op, right?
We follow him stealth mode style.
After the discharge, your signal went viral. What happened in there?
Oh, nerds.
But in context, I think this lingo works in terms of clarifying how, even at its most dramatic and action-packed, this is still meant to ultimately be a fun, lighthearted low fantasy that I think a part of all of us wants to imagine living in, just because it looks so fucking cool. I mean, we could talk about how this is actually a commentary on the exploitation of the eager, vulnerable youth by having them do their dirty work to protect the all-powerful tech conglomerate's image from what they unleash onto the world and are too cowardly and corrupt to actually do anything meaningful about. But that's clearly not how the show wants us to think about it. It just wants us to see the cool, blasty blast monster fighting action. I'm not going to act like this is some big masterclass in execution even for the genre, but how can you not love something that takes this much advantage of animation strengths and taps into the imagination in such a unique and specific way, all while still giving us plenty of likable characters with their own personal struggles to overcome.
Oh, I am loving where this is going.
And with our main duo and the general structure firmly established, how much of this momentum carries over into the regular episodes? The second and third episodes continue the storyline of Miko and Five beginning their exciting career as glitch techs. They have to go through their orientation, which of course here is called the tutorial, even having this stupid Clippy type mascot here. Funny stuff.
Oh, I see you're trying to punch something. We will cover this in step 12. Punching.
This is my nightmare.
And on their first ever mission in the field, in the search for fast XP to level up their starter gear, Miko loses her gauntlet to an unexpectedly tricky glitch bird. Both of these end with them making hasty mistakes that put what is a dream come true to them at risk, and they have to make things right before management finds out. Pretty typical and tropey premises, sure, but again, it's the filtering characters that make it enjoyable, and also Flying Bark's amazing animation. We also get to better know a few other characters, particularly Phil the manager.
Please accept this coupon and a memory wipe of everything my employees just told you.
And are introduced to a handful of new elements, such as Hinobi's point system,
Like an RPG.
Like an RPG.
the concept of companion pets,
Save some for me, you turkey. You.
and Inspector 7, who keeps tabs on Hinobi's operations across all the different branches, and may have some secret motives of her own.
I've never met recruits so eager to finish training.
Not as strong as the premiere, but they serve to get the ground running for what follows. The stories from episode 4 on are mostly of the self-contained type, with some scraps of continuity to keep things interesting. This is where we get to properly meet a lot of the additional techs at their office, notably Zara, Nyx, Bergie, and Hanish, and explore more sides to who Miko and Five are as both people and team members. Most of these are pretty standard 6 to 12 plots at the end of the day, like trying to rekindle an old friendship, listening to your pet, or not being a jerky leader, and I'm not going to pretend these are the best executions of these plots, but they all have more than enough enjoyable elements going for them, thanks to how strong the show's concept and characters are. The types of glitches we see in action become more and more varied too, from a possessor glitch that allows someone, in this case Five's friend Casino, to live out their desired form.
Come on, say it with me.
No, Casino, we can't.
Smash? Smash?
Smash it up.
To a big festquetz of gems that leads this whole Tetris-like arena. And easily the coolest of the lot, a mapper glitch transforming the interior of a house into the castle from Castlestein, an obvious take on Castlevania.
You don't need to loot every torch.
Yes, I do.
This episode in particular seems to be the overall fan favorite, and while I can think of a couple more I'd personally put above this, it definitely deserves all the hype it's gotten. Just the idea of putting characters in a full-on, life-size recreation of an iconic classic is wicked enough by itself, but they also do a great job at giving Miko and Five their own arcs that again drive home how well they are able to bounce off and support each other when the going gets tough. It ends in probably the single biggest moment of triumph in the whole show.
Who does you think you are?
We're the D team, crumb bum.
Miko's family gets some love as well, with 2 episodes centered around her handing around one of her sisters. Collection Quest has the elder Nika tag along for a mandated by mom bonding day, which proves difficult with not just their age difference, but Nika's anxiety of being embarrassed by probably the most cringe slang in the whole show.
So everyone posted a pic of it all over Sochmemes.
Butsy proves really useful when she recognizes the glitch in Five and Bergie's Fetch Quest from her mobile game.
Your sister's got some skills, Miko.
Yeah? Who do you think taught me how to play video games?
Karate trainer shifts to the younger sister Lexi, who is aware of the Hinobi tech powers and uses it to convince Miko to train her in karate via this super high-tech simulator, which inadvertently runs off into the actual ring, and she steps up to take down the glitch that follows.
Lexi, get out of here! Sorry, sis. That's against the sibling code.
They aren't the best in the lot or anything, but they're both pretty heartwarming tales that show a sweet side to Miko. It's a shame that the family is all but absent for the remainder of the produced run. I'd say the weak link of the lot is probably Adventures in Pet Training. Not because it's bad, but you can tell just from watching it that it's way out of order from the rest. And sure enough, it was. Miko and Five are split up for most of it. This pet doctor's design reminds me too much of Pearl with that pointy nose of hers, and Five forms a bond with this beeping robot thing who only appears one more time for the rest of the show.
You stay. I go.
Of course, because this is glitch text, we still get at least one really awesome looking sequence out of it, as well as this super heartwarming, poignant moment for Miko.
None of this is real. You're not real. But the way I feel about you is...
But it's definitely the one that gives off the weirdest overall feel.
Oh, nice level design, Emma!
Again, not bad, but also not as strong as the others. But yeah, strong foundation, appealing formula, well spread out reveals, banging style, so far so good. I think now is as good a time as any to talk more about the characters and what they contribute to the show.
It's not 4 against 1, it's 4 against 5.
High Five is a very loyal type of character, but not to a fault, and likes to give everything he does some flair, whether it be helping cook for his family's food truck, taking down a threatening glitch boss, or just showing off his gaming skills to the neighborhood kids.
Your powers fail you, you vile crumb bum.
Crumb bum?
It'll catch on.
But he's also the kind who will put his family and friends first, always being by Miko's side whenever she's in a vulnerable place. Occasionally his geeky side will get in the way of that, and he can feel self-conscious when it comes to being out of his comfort zone, but he'll always step up and overcome those fears in a way only he can. He has a lot of positive traits worth looking up to, but also a lot of relatable vulnerabilities, and it makes for a fun lead. Miko, on the other hand, is just a plain blast through and through.
This is my theme song, bringing rainbows of pain, it's always the best!
The design obviously sticks out first and foremost, with that deep purple hair and 4chan approved hips, which the artists and animators undoubtedly go to town on, but she radiates such a pro-gamer energy that is so refreshing to see in a show like this. She takes so much open pride in what she loves doing, giving off an infectious energy everywhere she goes, and is the queen of nonsense catchphrases.
We are stone dead and have gone to gamer heaven! Brain like a turtle, confidence like a lizard. Does a salamander love seaweed? Heavens to Metroid, Chicky Chum! Deal, baby seal.
Baby seal?
Figure of speech I made up, I'll workshop it, let's go!
Being a proud pro gamer, she's a static to live her dream, has little patience for any hindrances, and will have a habit to impulsively act without thinking, which can get her and those around her into trouble. However, she's never insensitive to her surroundings. Any trouble that does arise will leave her nervous about the consequences, and drive her to do right by them. And if she gets a bad vibe from her surroundings or someone's behavior, she will call it out to them. She is not someone you want to break, and heaven help you if you do. All those sides of her are captured beautifully through Monica Ray, just one of those absolutely perfect voice performances that I can't ever separate from the character.
Well, you can think that's what you thought, but if you really knew, I'd have to delete your brain. I may have already said too much.
But with those two heroes, you gotta also have a real thorn for them to rise up against. A griefer, if you will.
Mitch Williams. Nice to beat you.
Man, Mitch is such a deuce. He's at the top of his rank and will flaunt that in your face. He'll play dirty just to keep himself at the top. He'll belittle those beneath him just because he can, and he'll be very stylish and clean while he does it.
You're Mitch Williams.
And you're not.
And man, this guy's just so freaking fun to watch. He's so over the top and the kind of antagonist you just love to hate whenever he's on screen. And much of that is thanks to Luke Youngblood's performance that is about up there with Monica Ray in terms of unseparability. The deliveries alone just give this guy so much life.
I don't need backup! I'm Mitch Williams!
It's not as though he doesn't like his co-workers and colleagues. In fact, he will happily work with them whenever he has something to gain from it. But he clearly loves his job and the fact he's really good at it.
I'm too busy earning my XP by taking out bosses. Like a boss.
As the show goes on, we start seeing some shades of gray under that image. When he's taken over by body snatchers, even with him obviously faking the nice guy persona, it's hinted the behavior is rooted in something truly deep inside him. A feeling of remorse and desire to be more on their level.
Clones are just backups restored from the memories of the original hosts. We bring out the best in everyone.
And then, near the end of the run, we have the spotlight episode where this trio of rowdy gamers, who we find out are his siblings, keep getting their equipment glitched and replaced, and as a result are under threat of being permabanned from all Hinobi products. And not only do we find out they do this to attract their little man back in after he started to neglect them for his job.
That's mad!
Yeah, well, we need you, bruv.
But we also get this moment showing him really start to feel sympathetic for Miko and 5, and appreciate having them there as backup.
Any second, those little ponies will muster up the true spirit of teamwork, or friendship, or understanding. Those blueberries don't need me.
It's really sweet, and these layers allow him to consistently stay engaging while still keeping his general attitude intact. I really hope they had more plans of him later down the line. The remaining texts get gradually introduced to us over time, some of which leave more of an impression than others, but I like what each of them contribute to the show too. Zara is the kind of woman with a very chill exterior and can truly kick butt when action comes her way. Very collected and confident, and a blast to hang with when taking it easy. But on the inside, she actually has more insecurity than you'd think. She has often little talk when not around her comrades, and when she starts crushing on 5, she is practically tripping over every other sentence.
Do we get to bring a +5? I mean a +1. I said +1. I can't say to talk. I left my car in my wallet. Car in your wallet?
I just love her energy, and the fact she's a legitimate Arab rep, a rarity in animation, only makes her even more of a standout. It even got the show an award if you can believe it.
As a Muslim woman, it makes me so happy that kids will have characters like Zara to look up to, and here's hoping she's just the first of many more to come.
Bergie is the token, squeaky teen nerd, the D&D player of the group who likes to roleplay, even if he can sometimes feel insecure about it.
Lord Krista of the Bloodbriar clan accepts your invitation.
He's a very well-meaning if somewhat bumbling worker who gets a lot of jokes that just make him look pathetic, which admittedly can by themselves be pretty fun.
I always wanted to come up with a last-minute plan in a life-or-death situation.
Well?
Nothing so far.
He tries, and that's what matters. Hanish is also rather nerdy, but in a much more cheery way. He's the big tech whiz who always has one idea ahead of him, especially if it involves hacking.
He really likes hacking.
I really like hacking.
He has a very friendly demeanor, trying to avoid confrontation when he can, though he isn't above taking a jab every now and then. There was even more they had planned with him which sadly didn't see light, but that'll be a discussion for later. And Nyx? Okay, there's not much to say about him. He's just kinda there every so often and that's kinda it. And I think the show's aware of this too. They do a gag where Hanish can't find any suspicious lines from him because he's had so few of them on screen.
I think you mean my sub?
Oh, so it's your sub.
Saved our skins back there, Rooks. Thanks.
See? What was that? I'm sorry, this investigation is going nowhere.
He does try to declare himself scorekeeper of the arcade at one point, but that also has the same kind of punchline.
That's why folks call me the scorekeeper.
We don't call you that.
Could you start?
All of them are run by their manager, Phil.
Incoming call from
your boss.
Another good subversion of a character that I've come to enjoy over time. At first, he displays a lot of the typical traits of the boomer boss. He's a bit of a monotone killjoy, he seems to mostly sit around and give orders, he gets upset at a lot of the antics that take place, and he's also into food.
Cash registers here, price guns here, poopers in the back, and the place next door sells old donuts at half off.
That's all?
What's better than half off donuts?
But you're quick to find that despite his demeanor, he actually is quite reasonable in how he treats his employees and shows a soft side to them on multiple occasions. And as the show goes on, he starts to get a little more involved in the action. It takes 15 episodes for him to actually step into gear and kick some ass, and it leaves an impact when he finally does. Even his relationship with BITT gets pretty amusing more often than not.
Sir, I am detecting an increase in your heart rate and an abnormal amount of perspiration.
So yeah, surprisingly cool manager, as long as you don't get on his bad side. There is one more character of note to go over, but I'll set the stage by getting into the second half of produced episodes. Batch 2 starts on a strong, enticing note, with a kick-ass opening sequence that shows a bunch of the techs working as a team, already showing significant progress from what we saw before. In the midst of this, Miko's inability to get erased is brought back to attention, which gives Mitch the opportunity to call her weird in front of their teammates, which makes her feel self-conscious. But she fast finds a kindred spirit when a chase with a modded Chomp Kitty leads Miko to this young tech whiz.
I'm Ridley, and that's Horn. Welcome to my lair!
Ridley is such a fun addition to the show. Performed so naturally by Ashley Burch, who by the way also wrote both her episodes, she introduces a new layer to the show's world building, tapping into a reality of the current gen. Modding.
After a while, I started tweaking and saving custom glitches here on the hard drive. They stay in containment until I release them. Before I do, I rewrite their AI till they're sweet, docile little babes like Horn here.
She clearly doesn't mean any harm by doing it, she just has fun using her prowess to enhance what she's given. But from Miko's perspective, there's some questions raised about the ethics of it all, which unfortunately causes a rift in their bond.
You would make a perfect glitch tech! All we gotta do is break all this stuff down, take it to HQ for containment, intro you to my boss.
You want to take my sprites away from me?
Well, technically it's sort of my job to.
You're just like everyone else, afraid of the thing that makes me special. You want to take it away and make me normal like you!
But that's okay, because she has asserted from the experience that there's no shame in being weird.
You're right. I am a weirdo! And you better watch out, because I got my freaky eye on you.
Ridley soon makes a return when she aims to get a tech gauntlet to rebuild her lair, so she takes up Miko's previous offer to join the Glitch Techs, and through some finagling,
Can you get him to make donuts?
gets recruited to the team and quickly comes to enjoy the thrill and camaraderie in going on missions, only for her selfish side to come back when confronted by Mitch Williams and her attitude subsequently called out.
Yeah, but by cheating him and then giving him grief about it...
He was awful to us!
We just think we should tell Phil.
Tell him what? The new kid made us do it? The weird one we never should have brought here? He'll take my gauntlet from me. Same way you took everything from me last time!
You get the impression that, if she just had a better temper and closer aligned ethical code, she probably would have made a fantastic asset for the team. Even Mitch gets some more character development here as a result, letting her go without a memory wipe, allowing her to create a copy gauntlet of her own, and unfortunately we don't get to see where this was gonna go. Life is tragic. This transitions well into another aspect that defines this second batch of episodes. It leans way further into the workplace comedy. We saw this to some degree, especially when we were introduced to Zara and Hanish, but now they're both more regular contributors and there's more time spent with these techs just chilling at their base, to the point a couple episodes almost entirely take place there. One where a crew party is held, which happens to mix with a body snatchers type invasion.
Where'd you get that hat?
What hat?
This hat!
And another where the techs play a social deduction game which devolves into a clip show. Yep, totally made for streaming, guys!
Okay, I really do not like this game.
But even when they are going out into the field more, we get episodes like the new Glitch Techs, where they get outshone by a rival division after 5 decides to cheat with a rare glitch that passes the border. But when their feud causes the greater danger to escalate, they must work together to take it down. And also BITT Prime, where the workplace BITT seems to go rogue after Miko and 5 try to clear its storage space. We get a lot more of Phil here, even seeing a bit of his home, and of course Bergie plays support in BITT's place. Cute stuff.
But before I upload it, first I need to review the terms and conditions.
Nobody reads them!
Even the Mitch Williams spotlight ultimately comes down to tackling his working relationship with Miko and 5, and how he let his work take over his life. Between all those, and some other examples I've yet to cover, there is so much already being done to evolve the premise from where it began, and opening the door to so many more story threads to explore, while still keeping the focus on the character relationships and the awesome action comedy mix, as it should. Speaking of which, don't you think the corny tech-based puns have slowed down at all?
The cake is a pie.
Wi-Fi fo fum! I don't have time for this, so let's just skip to the cutscene.
Okay, things are getting a little M for mature up in here right now.
Hold my gear.
There is one big downside though, and that's how the episode quality here is noticeably less consistent. While the heights were certainly greater, the sole 2 episodes I didn't really enjoy on first watch both came from here. but even those manage to have a saving grace in the character dynamics. Dan Milano's writing always makes the conversation scenes inherently fun to listen to.
How does it work now, Glitch?
Trying to deflect suspicion, Zara?
He who detects it, deflects it.
And both work in very touching moments between their main duo. Miko overcomes her childhood fear to save Five from Keiki Von Smasher. Five comes to Miko's defense when everyone suspects she's a glitch herself.
If you were a glitch, you'd tell me, right? Totes, dude.
As a result, neither of these are bad outright, but for a show where it feels like every episode needs to count, they are still underwhelming. To talk a little more about the Calypso, Find the Glitch, as far as I'm aware, this existed to save on budget and to ease the transition between animation studios, and I'll give it credit, they do get creative in the direction they take, turning some of the clips into AMVs, YTPs, and other dumb fun stuff. But at the end of the day, it's still ultimately a Calypso that only has 15 episodes to work with, which causes as many problems trying to frame them all together as you would think. But then, 2 other episodes I would consider the best 5 lead and the best Miko lead. One of them is Ping, where they face their most intense threat yet, a single non-sentient green cube. But once you get it going, it never, and I mean never, stops.
Why do I get the feeling that more silent means more deadly?
But what it also has is beefing up some of Five's background and some of the more tucked away insecurities of his, specifically the weight of his dad being in jail.
Emilio Nieves could write code to play chess, balance a checkbook, and hack a firewall faster than you and me could chew a stick of gum.
Isn't hacking illegal?
That's why he's still in prison.
Oh.
It's okay, really. Even white hat hackers get arrested.
We all make choices.
That's a really unusual situation to see covered in a kid's cartoon. The only other one I can recall is Big City Greens, and even that was only the first half season.
Well, look who finally got out of jail.
But that's only second to settling the score. I've gushed over this episode many times across my platforms, but to sum up what I love about it, awesome dance montages, Five and Miko's friendship being its strongest ever, the personal dive into Miko's psychology, the sheer concept of a DDR fighting game with titans, the scale escalating literally larger than life, and of course, Miko learning what the true honor of a high score is.
You just moved here.
This is Glitch Text in its peak to me, how it can take a simple character study and make it as badass as possible. Both of these episodes also really show Top Draw at their best in terms of animation.
I'm flying!
And mention deserves to also be made of Brad Breek's score. He's become known as one of the great cartoon composers of the current generation. And while I can't say I love every project he's been a part of, particularly when it sounds like he's just slightly remixing Gravity Falls cues, but man, this has to be among his best. The techno beats really give the audio experience a sort of pseudo-retro feel that immerses you in the gaming-heavy world, and there's such a constant energy to the tracks accompanying the action scenes in particular that makes you feel the adrenaline on the spot. Anyway, I bring this up now because the 2 Stockholm Rockers tracks are unquestionably the best of the best. If they went any harder, I think my headphones would explode.
Feel the thump of your heartbeat, the kiss of the mean streets. Do you see the line drawn in the sand? Yeah, kaiju, baby.
So, to end this whole section on one more bittersweet note, I want to go back to BITT Prime, specifically how it ends. See, it turns out this intricate recipe BITT Prime created, deep from the recesses of his memory banks, reveals this eerie message for Phil, from himself.
So when all else fails, he can protect the files we recovered from Hinobi's development lab on this cartridge. Keep him safe, Phil. They may come in handy when things get glitchy.
That was the final episode of the show in release order. As you can probably tell, this little show has left a pretty big impact on how I present myself online as an animation fan. And those who know me from back on Twitter in COVID times, I would frequently organize trend parties, made an AMV around the extended theme song, which was probably my first real exercise in this kind of video editing. Ran an out of context account, which was actually a lot of fun. Even analyzed the episodes to kick off a blog I made before focusing on YouTube. I was just trying to keep the show alive in some vain copium that maybe it could muster a third season of episodes, back when we all still thought doing so genuinely stood a chance, and back when this and a couple other shows felt like the worst a cartoon could be treated. How depressingly naive we were as a species just 5 years ago. And yeah, I'm sure when I put it like that, it may seem strange that I've done all that for what is ultimately not even one of the best, most groundbreaking cartoons out there. There have been others that have come out that I consider the true peak of the medium, a couple of which I've already talked about on this channel, wink wink, but I was never as obsessed with any of them as I was with glitch techs. So I was admittedly a little worried when I revisited this show for the first time in years, with so much perspective gained since, that it wouldn't hold up as well. In case it wasn't obvious, it hadn't, and in fact only rekindled my special interest. And I think I can now describe exactly why I was so obsessed with it. One reason is that it simply embraces the medium to such a massive degree that few others have matched. The incredibly colorful, flashy, action-packed visuals is already the peak you expect from a production like this, but the pure creativity in the actual ideas being visualized amp it up to another level. All the glitz monsters that leap straight out of the machines, the high-tech kick-ass gear all the techs wear on the field, a lot of the imaginative Hinobi gadgets actually used in battle, some of the in-universe video games themselves, the list just goes on. It always has something new and completely unique to throw at you, and half the fun is just seeing what they'll think of next, and what kind of fun cinematography trick you're about to see. Similarly, I'd like to also point out the youth empowerment factor. The idea that they can be such big-time, monster-fighting heroes purely by using techniques from video games. How can anyone in the target demo see this and not wish they were there with them? All the while grounding it with some personal lessons and a sense of camaraderie between everyone. It's what I love about shows like Craig of the Creek and OKKO. And the final point as to why I think it stood out is just how much it revels in the subject matter. Video game cartoons did exist before, and certainly after, but this one seems specifically built around the notion of, we in the crew are gamers and we want to do the most badass thing we can with gaming culture. This is even further reflected in how they've spoken with fans, both on Sos Mead, some interviews, and even a series of podcasts which essentially serve as unofficial commentary tracks. Yeah, these folks have been really open about the production process, and that's kind of a fourth reason for me actually. I love these shows that just invite people to dig deep into the behind the scenes details. But alas, even with all the push, it was not to be. In the years since it faded in relevance, while it does remain on Netflix, it is all but left to languish in purgatory for the rest of time, with no official acknowledgement that I can recall in the time since. Not even so much as an appearance in Nick All-Stars Brawl. Like, come on guys, the possibility was right there gift wrapped for you. Despite all that, several fans remain loyal for their love of the show to this very day. It still gets the odd coverage from video essayists on YouTube, and the crew continues speaking very highly about their experience on it, hinting at even more developments that were planned. As for where the main guys ended up, Dan Milano was set to showrun an adaptation of Wings of Fire for Netflix at Warner Bros. Animation. And then it got cancelled. Guy can just not catch a break. Eric Robles, on the other hand, opted to team up with the Duffer Brothers to develop an animated series within the Netflix mega-hit Stranger Things, even getting Flying Bark attached for good measure. I can't say I'm particularly into the source material, but the connection definitely intrigues me. And they even got Dan attached as a writer. Good to see the partnership continuing on. And speaking of Flying Bark, they've worked on other acclaimed but cut too soon projects like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. And they've also been announced as involved with the upcoming Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender theatrical film. And I can only imagine how good Flying Bark is gonna look on the big screen. But there is one chapter to the story I have yet to cover. What were those 10 unfinished episodes about? Well, over time, several details and snippets have made their way online, from production materials to partial animatics and even some leaked scripts. So since by this point it isn't like they will be put to proper use anyway, I will be using what has been gathered up to now to piece together everything as best I could. Keep in mind, some episodes have more available than others. So an interesting fun fact is that, if you pay attention to the production codes, you'll find that we actually did get a bit of a taste as to what a proper second season of the show might have been like. Sometime mid-production, 2 episode scripts intended to be part of the then 20 episode season 1 were swapped with 2 that were being made for the second, specifically the Real Glitch Text 201 and Settling the Score 205, which features the return of the Daphne text and Alpha. This also explains why Mitch's hairstyle suddenly changes in these 2, as they were meant to come after his big spotlight role. That said, the 2 episodes that got shoved back and therefore left on the cutting room floor were Buildup 118 and Food Feud 112. Let's talk about them. Buildup is definitely an interesting one. If you recall, this was the mysterious threat that Inspector 7 mentioned at the very end of tutorial mode.
These may be the texts that can help us locate Buildup.
So after it gets unleashed and captures Miko somehow, 5 inmates have to get help in order to take it down. We know from this animated clip here shared by Dan Milano himself that this was to follow up on Mitch's friendship with Ridley.
What up, Gildy?
Ridley Craft?
You said you knew a guy.
Gender is a social construct.
We also have this other clip directly following it, which tells us what exactly Buildup is in the context of the lore.
Buildup was the AI opponent of Hinobi's first computer chess game, back when they were still futzing with self-modifying code. That means, unlike other glitches, it can adapt and change.
There's not much more known about it out there, apart from these turnaround sheets of both a standard mode design and a boss mode design. Food Feud is probably the episode we know the least about, but there are a few things we can pick from. According to this character layout, it would have had both the Nieves and Kubota families fighting some monsters made out of food. With how much the Kubotas especially got shafted in the run we got, this was especially a major loss. Also, that's her grandma there. I legitimately did not even know this was a character that existed until I did research for this video. Huh. Oh wait, last minute addition. I found what appears to be the official episode synopsis. Miko's grandma is coming, and the Kubota residents, after messing up their dinner, gets 5's family involved. But Miko's new game turns this house party into a potluck of peril. So there's the context for the aforementioned family shenanigans. So with those 2 holdovers out of the way, here's where we get to the real meat. And for the sake of livening it up for your and my enjoyment, I've decided to recruit a handful of friends to read out any script passages that come up as we go. Strap yourselves in.
Can I just point out we're finding video game characters from the same movies we're seeing later today? You gotta love this job.
Yeah!
Hey guys, we still gotta get our movie tickets from Phil.
Relax, the movie's not for hours. Also, I don't recognize these thingies we're fighting at all.
They're Glorbs from Starguards 2. You don't remember SG2?
The one with the monkey planet?
That was SG3.
And those monkeys were Shaggies. Still can't believe they're bringing back Chief Shagga for Sword of Destiny.
No spoilers!
He's on the poster.
I haven't seen a single poster, promo, teaser, or trailer.
Wow, respect. Very little understanding, but mad respect.
So, as that scene just established, Miko, 5, and Hinice are all hyped to see the latest installment in their favorite sci-fi movie franchise, but they are denied their tickets until they finish their assignments. So they summon the franchise's muscular villain Eric to help carry them through the work, which they ultimately abuse, and cause them to go through an existential crisis. Yep. So they have to find some way to finish through his story in order to counteract his resistance to their gauntlets. That alone makes it sound like it would have been fun, but what really stands out is what it does to Hinice. See, they're on a ticking clock to make the opening showing, because he reveals he has a personal connection with Starguards.
The summer the first Starguards movie came out was the loneliest summer of my life. My older brother went away to camp, my best friends next door moved away, my folks worked full-time, and the cat peed on my favorite game system. So when I finally saw Star Guards on opening day, it was the only fun I'd had all summer. I hung out with the other fans online, pigged out on a super large promo meal, answered all the movie trivia, and watched every preview. I know it sounds silly, but it was like Star Guards showed up for me when no one else would, you know?
For a character that wasn't given all that much before, it's bittersweet to find out they had this sort of tragic backstory prepared for him, giving him something I think many of us can relate to even if we don't want to admit it. Having that one specific thing you feel a special bond to, a hyperfixation if you will. It may not seem like much, but it goes a long way in making him an endearing character. And he ultimately realizes that the movie-going experience is nothing without his friends, and helps them take Eric back. A very heartwarming moment.
Thanks for having your grandparents come to the movie 5.
I'm just glad they scored tickets for the next screening.
Get ready for previews, popcorn, and trivia, my dudes!
Oh, well, if it isn't Fanboy and his little chum-chums, all excited for your big good versus evil story?
You know, Mitch, maybe you were right. Maybe the Star Guards movies would be better with a twist.
Actually, I really like this one. Who knew this whole time Arak was really Star Prince's twin brother?
No!
Now this one's a big loss. You see what happens when a tech reaches level 10, take a mandatory exam called the GSAT for the right to level up their gear.
Oh, holy boss mother of nerds! The GSAT isn't a trial! It's a test!
And Miko is intimidated by this not just because of her attention deficit, but also a restless night failing to beat Castlestein 2, leading to Count Nogrog continuously haunting her efforts to overcome this hurdle.
Poor wretched human, this is probably the last time you see one another.
You heard that right?
As is typical with this kind of plot, C decides the only route to succeed is to cheat. The consequences of which come to her where she manages to beat Nogrog, but is subsequently cursed into Countess Meekrog, who looks like this.
5! Thank goodness you're okay!
What have you done with Miko, you monster?
It's me, 5! Your lovable butt-kicking pal Miko!
Heh, nice try. Don't you think I'd recognize my own partner, Glitch?
I am your partner! I cheated on the GSAT exam so I could pass it and defeat Count Nogrog, but... surprise twist, I kinda became Nogrog!
Heh, now I know you're lying. Miko may get intimidated sometimes, but she'd never cheat her way out of a challenge. So get wrecked!
Oh boy. I can fly? Woohoo! Whoa! I gotta find a way to resolve this without a fight. Sorry! I didn't mean to do that! 5, you gotta listen to me! Oh, bats! 5, are you okay? No! 5!
Thankfully, this turns out to just be a nightmare, and she uses flashbacks from earlier scenes in the show to help her remember the answers and passes the exam, but not without taking a rest. Cute. Another banger story that puts Miko in a very relatable scenario which very cleverly ties back to her gaming, and also uses all she's been through up to now to really make this feel like a big achievement. It is a little goofy and predictable, sure, but from what we have, it looks like it would have been really fun. Not to mention meaningful for anyone who can personally relate to Meeks. Also, Bergie is in top form here.
Bergie! There's my favorite tech!
I'm your favorite? Does 5 know? Am I allowed to say anything, or is this a secret?
Stop talking! I hate your voice!
If you're gonna criticize my art, at least make it something I can change!
Now at hero rank, Miko and 5 tag along with Zara and Denise on a mission to offload the contained glitches to a processing lab.
Welcome to hero rank.
Haha! Thanks Thanks for the tech support, you guys.
Yeah, we couldn't have ranked up without you and your van. Where did you get it?
That old thing? And I'm done playing it cool. It's awesome. Tell him about the awesome.
Okay. So using Plixocrap, we tricked out our tech van with a ton of custom settings. Boosts, buffs, anti-nerfs, overclocked skin packs, luxury mods, and a Plixo cannon? That can craft Plixo structures with the click of a button.
Whoa. TLDR, Hanish engineered it.
And Zara designed it.
Together we call it
Omega Van!
All hail Omega Van!
I thought I heard you say, raise sail, Omega Van. Is that correct?
We're still working out the kinks.
But their rust causes a fuel leak from Omega Van, just as a glitch attack starts to enter their trail. So while they wait for more energy to refuel the van, they must work together to defend it from waves of glitches that risk breaching the jail drive within, hence the name. Unfortunately, that has some challenges when Zara and Hanish can't help but blame each other for the incident. We've seen both of these have their weaknesses, sure, but it's fascinating to see them in a vulnerable place in the battlefield, let alone for Five to have to be the one to bring them back down to Earth. How far these two noobs have come. Not much more to say about this one, just another high concept that adds to the lore and characterization. Here's a real interesting one, a Phil spotlight, where he recounts his more youthful days out on the field and wants to bond with his employees more. And he gets his chance when Inspector 7 sends him a special VR suit which creates a life-size avatar clone of himself, which he customizes in his youthful image and decides to give it a test.
30 seconds to win.
I'm almost to the base, I'm almost to the base, I'm almost to the...
Gonna need a flag back, Bergie.
No fair, I don't have a mount.
I do.
Zara, take the flag! Go, go, go!
Blue team has the flag.
What?
All your flags are belong to me!
Blue team, flag reclaimed.
Yes! Bring it home, Miko!
Yes, come into my parlor.
Blue team has a new player. Blue team wins.
What the gorf is that?
That is what I call claiming the moon, kiddies. Who wants to go another round?
Wow! What's your name, stranger?
It's me, Flash. Flash.
Phil's extended game break starts to strain the chip, especially after he tries to talk with his techs and begins to, in typical Phil fashion, blow a fuse.
I'll tell you what I'm talking about. You techs have it so easy. The tools do half the job for you. Help files, save files, auto mapping, auto targeting. My generation didn't have any of that.
Careful, sir. Readings indicate your emotional state may be causing the device to...
We relied on things like endurance, patience, reflexes, stamina, and...
So now everyone has to destroy the cracked avatar as it starts wreaking havoc all over the Hinobi store, where of course some of Phil's old moves come into play, showing he's still got a spring in his step, and ending with a greater mutual understanding between him and his crew. Another nice episode that does a lot to flesh out everything we liked about this guy and tackles a side of these manager-employee relationships you don't normally see in kids' cartoons.
Capture the flag in Great Gravy Gorge.
Losing team buys pizza.
Hang on!
Don't say no to free pizza!
And yes, that title pun is pretty clever too. So like what we saw with Nika and Lexi, this episode puts a light into Miko's relationship with her dad. As such a generational gap often is, he doesn't seem to get Miko's gaming lifestyle, as some of her work friends visit the house for a battle royale session.
You had a Hinobi Hive? The company's first personal PC? Birth mother of all video game systems that followed?
There she is.
Original CRT monitor?
Dual floppy disk drive.
Dial-up modem?
But a glitch attack causes the power to go out, which traps them into what seems like a text-based RPG, narrator voice and all.
Items of valor are now bestowed. Choose wisely to assume your role.
Treasure!
Loot!
Need!
Greed!
Whoa! The pixels are wrapping me in some kind of graphic skin. Rogue 5 standing by.
I think I'm a barbarian. Emphasis on the bear, apparently.
I was actually hoping for something more hack and slashy. Do you have any thingamawhips or boomsticks in stock?
I'm an elf!
What else is new?
And who are you, lead guitar?
I'm Mitch Williams.
The bard's melody rallies you for battle. A wooden chest blocks your path.
They go through their respective roles in a bunch of dungeon-based trials, only to one by one fall victim to its clutches. Miko eventually tumbles into the basement, where the glitch source and her dad are found, leading to this unexpected exchange.
You have reached the lair of the Overseer, son of Barnes, keeper of treasures.
Those are words from my game. How does that voice know the words from my game?
Dad, just keep out of the way until... Wait, what did you mean, your game?
Son of Arnes. That's my description text. Those are my texture maps, my skeleton sprites, from Dungeon Construction Kit.
A do-it-yourself adventure game?
It was my favorite program back in college.
Dad...
You know, I spent countless hours in this program back in college. Testing levels, playing levels. I know it was just a simple game, but it just completely ran away from my imagination. I'm sure it's hard for people to understand.
Not for me.
Yeah, well, I guess that's true, isn't it?
Well, Dad, I never thought I'd say this, but it's about time you and me played a little couch co-op.
And it's with him playing along that's able to free the gang. Definitely borrow some beats from a few other episodes, but I think this also would have been a very fun quest just for the aesthetic. And the fact it shows that even Mr. Kubota has some roots in gaming, it's a pretty predictable but fun revelation that makes you appreciate him more. Yet another thing we missed out big time on.
Oh, are you actually playing that thing?
It's called a castle crawler, honey.
What am I gonna do with you?
Ooh, that's good.
Five's Gauntlet is a heavy one, following up on multiple different plot threads. Five's on an afternoon off when Casino returns and reveals he became part of a group of underground hacking vigilantes called the Blue Dryads.
The Blue Dryads? That group of tech heads who hacked the arcade and made all the games free for a week?
Yeah, well, I finally got in tight with them.
While in their arcade lair, Five sneakily uses his gauntlet to fix a broken emulation, which gets the attention of the Dryad's lead, Bunny.
Now before Fiver here tells me how he bypassed my encryption to fix that emulator.
I did kind of do that, didn't I?
Take notes, people! That is a heck of a bold way to get my attention.
Who gets a hold of the gauntlet, leaving all the secrets within at risk. Tossed out, Five turns to one of the group's former members for help, who happens to be none other than...
That's it. Just a little further. Whoa! What?
Remember me now, Normie?
Ridley?
Funny how falling jogs the memory.
I thought Mitch wiped your memory.
Well, plot twist, me and Mitch took that story in another direction. Even if he had, Ridley rule number 1 is to always have a backup plan. And mine was this copy of your tech gauntlet.
You cloned my gauntlet? Do you know how much trouble I'd be in if...
It fell into the wrong hands?
Accessing security cameras.
Status update. Looks to me like you're already there, bub.
If they hack that gauntlet, they'll find everything. My tech stats, my personal profile, even the glitches I captured this morning.
Well, sorry to tell ya, but the mods Bunny borrowed from me should hack it open faster than a chipmunk through a pistachio nut.
You're part of the Bunny's crew?
Mr. Open Source booted me for rooting through his private server. I tried sneaking in there to get my mods back, but so far, no dice.
Unfortunately, even though they do successfully break into the back lab, the hacked contents of the Gauntlet have already reached a certain pair of eyes.
Glitches, gauntlets, memory wipes. Earlier today, you said homies don't hold out on each other.
I did, and I meant it, but...
I didn't even want to tell you where I was going today, but you just had to push me about it.
I didn't push you.
You made me feel like I should drop everything just because you finally decided you wanted to hang out. Why, Five? Weren't there any good glitch tech missions to take today?
Casino, I wanted to tell you about glitch tech, but nobody is supposed to know about it.
Your friend Miko knows. Even Ridley knows you're some kind of video game mega hero.
To be fair, his work friend was supposed to wipe my memory. I'll just finish up here.
Bunny then accidentally lets one of Five's glitches loose, so Casino has to be swooped in and saved, and accepts his memory has to be erased. But yeah, all we saw in Smashazor is about Five leaving him behind and having to keep all those secrets away from him. It was in fact foreshadowing to this reveal without us ever realizing it. It makes for some pretty powerful character conflict for Five as well, having to choose between your loyalty to your job and staying true to yourself as a person, cleverly hinting at what was definitely going to be an even greater plot thread that sadly never got to be penned. Man, with every passing story, we only get more and more robbed.
Yeah.
This is the unfinished episode most people have heard of and got hyped up the most by the crew, and the title should make it clear why. It's a crossover with none other than the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Leo leads, Donnie does machines, I'm cool with the side of crude, and Mikey's a resident potty dude.
Obvious brand synergy aside, this being the lighthearted action comedy it is, makes this gimmick not feel out of place, especially given the Turtles' history in video games and even the fact this show has nodded to it before.
Check for martial weapons and bandanas. Let's transform and cowabunga.
So the plot is, this kid who stands up to bullies in the playground has his TMNT game glitch, and he literally gets into character by controlling all 4 turtles for the price of 1, getting a moment to be the hero he desires to be. But it's during the resulting confrontation that he learns what being a true hero is about.
Check this out! Looks like you Tex could use a little support.
And that's kinda it actually. Yeah, of the whole lot, this is probably the episode with the least substance. To be fair, it is very fun and meta. I like how much it embraces the goofy dialogue both shows have in common.
Oh no, a pun!
Their greatest weapon.
I like how Five is a total Turtles nerd, even if he has some questionable taste.
I haven't been this happy since the Coming Out of Our Shells tour.
I like how there's still a nice, relatable lesson for a little pro tag here, which extends to the audience. It's just... this is an episode you mainly would watch for the novelty rather than it actually adding much to the show on the whole. This is reflected by how there's a startling lack of the usual cast, with only BITT and Mitch appearing in one scene around the middle. Also, this is the one unfinished episode we have a full-length animatic of, albeit an early one with no sound other than the voice work, which really makes watching it that much more eerie, especially when the action gets broken up with... Why do I find this funny? Still a good episode in its own right, and certainly a stronger crossover than what you'd normally get, but not necessarily a must-watch. It's funny that the final episode in release order and the final episode in the overall production are both BITT-centric episodes. Anyway, Miko and Five are alongside the bot in tackling a large-scale glitch invasion of a desert area, involving a bunch of collectible cherries and a sandworm, which only he can properly clear. So they're stuck with the rather dull task of keeping watch for him, and the moment they lose focus, BITT gets pounded up, so he gets serviced at Daphne and his OS reinstalled, which the two again take the impatient route on.
Greetings, I am BITT, a binary intelligence tech.
Sorry for the setback, buddy. Now tank that worm like you were meant to, and we'll resume our mission.
Please speak your name, followed by the date, time, and region to begin first time setup.
First time what?
Wake up, guys! guys. It's worm o'clock.
BITT, this is 5! Tank that worm!
I am sorry, but I do not recognize the terms 5, tank, or worm.
What's wrong over there?
It's BITT! We didn't fix him. I think we erased him!
In a panic to complete their mission, they seek to obtain the cloud backup of BITT's memory, but the only way to get it fast is to breach the security with the help of, again, Ridley, who places 5 in a Matrix-type HUD while Miko is battling the worm.
Once you insert the security ID into the main gate, you'll have 2 minutes to locate BITT's backup file, find an export terminal, and log out.
2 minutes? What if I don't export BITT's file in time?
You and any files you've touched will be considered corrupt and completely wiped from the system.
So much for a friendly interface.
He does indeed find the file, thanks to a little ditty the bot gave him as advice earlier. And dang, Helpy actually lived up to his name for once. And as a nice topper, they are punished with manual labor while he remounts his processors. From that description, you can tell this is also a pretty straightforward plot, with a rather obvious moral. But it looks like the space would have been filled with some really fun visuals and a nice change of environment from the rest of the show's fare. So yeah, this is what has currently been gathered about all the unfinished episodes. While not every episode is necessarily a banger, and I'm sure some were expecting more actual story development, the vast majority of these plots really drive home how much more they were willing to evolve the premise and expand on the show's world building. There really was an endless well of potential that could have very well kept going on. And hopefully, this isn't the last we get to see of what could have been. It's both surreal and sad to think that the kind of fate glitch tech suffered felt unprecedented just 5 years ago, when in the years following, we would regularly get reports of shows in the middle of production getting cancelled and shelved, finished shows getting shelved, acclaimed shows being purged off official services, and just an overall lack of greenlights and support on the whole, especially for the currently uncertain 6 to 12 demographic. While we rallied for its success, it unfortunately served as a forerunner for the scary direction the industry was heading, where originality is often just dumped on the side and is only allowed to thrive for a small flash of time before it's on to the next thing, generally leaving no real audience impact and with no external means of revenue. I've stated in other videos how entertainment is in turmoil, especially animation, and it's because of this that can make one think getting into new shows is a fruitless endeavor, which I can admittedly understand. But that shouldn't make us forget how much sweat and tears were brought into even the most tossed around show, and that maybe any one of these could greatly impact the way you approach the medium. And that especially goes for such unique passion projects such as this, where everyone clearly loved their time on it and only sought the love and support from everyone who watched. Even if the studios are treating all these crews like crap, just showing up and keeping such standouts alive in your memories helps validate their work, especially after the fact. Thank you everyone for your patience. This video took a lot longer to put together than I hoped it would, but this show is just so special to me personally that I knew I had to go all in on it. Thanks very much to all my friends and mutuals who contributed their voice to the script readings. And to anyone keeping the spirit of glitch text alive on the internet, Godspeed to you too. Game on.